Well, of course, there's nothing new about the diesel engine, or perhaps we should call it the compression ignition engine. Indeed, well over 30,000 of this particular engine have been made at this factory, mostly for use in tractors. Well, that, of course, is quite a point, because if we are going to use these engines in cars, already a worldwide tractor service has been set up, which means that there'll be no problems with spares or anything like that. However, it's all a rather technical subject, so I think right away I'll ask the technical director, Mr. Grinham, to step out of the motor car for us. And while he's getting out, we'll take a look at the power unit. Well, now, Mr. Grinham, there are certain distinct advantages in putting a compression ignition engine in a car, but first of all, I think I'll ask you to define a compression ignition engine for us.
Well, the compression ignition engine is without sparking plugs and without carburetor. The compression is high enough to have self-ignition, and of course, from a car point of view, the reliability is greater than with the petrol.
Well, now, on the subject of these advantages, reliability okay, but fuel consumption is very important, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. Fuel consumption on this particular car is 45 miles per gallon, averaging 40 miles per hour.
Well, of course, 45 miles to the gallon at 40 miles an hour makes very sound economic sense. But now, what other advantages can you offer us? You mentioned reliability.
Yes, we have a very robust engine, and our findings are that the service on this particular engine is very much less than with the petrol engine.
Well, of course, the engine itself moves quite slowly, doesn't it? That's one of the great advantages of the diesel.
Yes, the maximum speed of this, maximum revs of this engine are 3,500.
Which is about 75% of average revs for a petrol engine, shall we say?
Maximum speed of a petrol engine would be 4,005.
Quite. In other words, because the engine goes slowly, it shouldn't wear out so fast, but the car, nevertheless, does go quite quickly. Well, we've got low fuel consumption, low fuel cost, because diesel fuel is, of course, cheaper than petrol. We've got low maintenance costs, because the engine doesn't wear itself out. Now, sir, what about the disadvantages?
The disadvantages are that the engine unit is more costly and is somewhat heavier than the normal petrol engine. But the cost is recovered because of the saving in running costs. Well, now,
everybody knows that London buses have diesel engines. They are a bit noisy. Do you find that the diesel is noisy for private cars?
It's not noisy from the driver's seat or the passenger's seat. But idling, of course, there is more noise with the diesel than with the petrol.
Well, we'll let viewers hear that for themselves in just a moment. Now, another myth, at least I expect you'll say it's a myth, sir, it has been said that diesel cars always smell of their fuel. What do you say about that?
Well, we have no knowledge of that in this particular design. We have sealed the body particularly well, and I think that has to be done.
Well, we'll just check up on what the technical director says, I think, and if we may, sir, we'll do a bit more motoring and, amongst other things, show viewers how we start the motor car. Well, first of all, we'll switch on the battery. You've got two batteries on this car because the starter motor has to work pretty hard because of the high compression engine. Right, battery switch on for the starter, and you pull this toggle, engage the self-starter, and away goes the engine. And as you can hear, it's not very noisy at all, as Mr. Grinham said, and I can vouch for the fact that there's no smell.